Hey, and welcome to this Alopecia Areata Masterclass. If you're new to my channel, I'm a health and fitness nutritionist, yoga instructor, meditation teacher, and I'm here to help you to heal your alopecia today. It would be disingenuous for me to not tell you this, that I have a patch right now. I actually have a little patch, and it's right in here. My hair's up, so you're not gonna be able to see it, but it's in there. And this is the first patch I've had in a while, but I get them sometimes. And so that's the bad news, is there's no cure for alopecia areata. There's not. There is, however, management of the symptoms of alopecia, and you can be in remission of alopecia. But however, alopecia is a symptom. It's the reason there's no cure for it is because it's a symptom. This is actually a symptom of grief. So my sister passed away suddenly, tragically, at the age of 24. It was very out of nowhere. She was perfectly healthy, and so this is a grief patch. But all that said, most of the time, I don't have patches. It's a very rare occasion that I do get them. But this is important for me to tell you because this helps you to understand how alopecia works, the kind of beast of alopecia. It's not a beast, it's a messenger, the messenger of alopecia, and what message it's trying to convey to us. That's number one. It's not a disease, it's a messenger. It's letting you know that there's something in your body, mind, or spirit that is out of alignment. I developed my first patch of hair loss back in 2016, and it was really bad. It was about as big as a softball, and it was growing and growing and growing until I found all the things I'm going to share with you in this video. When I first developed that patch, I was freaking out, and I was given a diagnosis of alopecia areata, and the diagnosis is fine. But I want you to start seeing it instead of a disease and a diagnosis. I want you to start seeing it as a symptom of some things that, again, are out of alignment. This is why there's no cure for it, is because just like with cavities, when we eat too much sugar, we get cavities. For those of us with autoimmune issues that tend to get autoimmune symptoms, we happen to get little symptoms when things aren't in alignment in our bodies, in minds and spirits. Part 2 of this masterclass. It's really important to understand that there's more to us than meets the eye. We cannot heal our bodies if we're just healing at the physical level. If we don't harmonize our mind and our spirit in addition to our body, healing is almost impossible. It's Sisyphus pushing the rock up the mountain instead of just letting the healing process just kind of flow. So your body, mind, and spirit, and if we harmonize the body, mind, and spirit as much as possible, the body, mind, and spirit will then be in a more harmonious state, and that makes healing a lot more possible. Part 3 is body. So let's talk about body and the body kind of aspect of alopecia. So with all autoimmune issues, including alopecia areata, there are multiple factors that play when we are talking about the body aspect of autoimmune issues. One of the main things we need to realize is that there's something called intestinal permeability. So this is called leaky gut. This means that something in your intestinal system has opened up its tight junctions, and that means foods that you're eating are getting into your bloodstream. This is 100% of the time present in all autoimmune issues. You cannot have autoimmune issues without intestinal permeability, without leaky gut. So if you've got autoimmune issues, you have leaky gut, my friend. So that's first and foremost, we have to learn how to take care of our digestive system and heal and seal the gut. And that's body part 1. Body part 2 is we have to also stop irritating the gut and eating foods that are irritating our system. These are foods that are high in phytic acid, lectins, anti-nutrients, protease and amylase inhibitors. So these are things like grains, gluten, dairy, eggs, nuts and seeds, legumes, and nightshades, gums, and thickeners. And basically what I just laid out for you is the AIP diet. By the way, I have a course, which I'm not trying to sell you on, but I did create a course called the Healing with Food course, and that's all about this way of eating. This is all about how to heal your body with food. This patch that I have, I hadn't had a patch in a really long time, but on top of my sister's passing, I also added and was eating lots of nuts. That is a trigger food for me. And I was eating copious amounts of nuts, grief, I was just like, screw it, let me eat a bunch of nuts. And this was all at the same time. And I was also very stressed. So very stressed, lots of grief, plus the phytic acid from the nuts equals a patch. This is a symptom. This is a little clue. This is a messenger. My body was just like, done. It was like, this is too much, giving you a patch. When we stick to eliminating the foods that irritate our system, we're more or less, we're able to heal. However, when we introduce those foods back, like sometimes you might feel like, screw it, I'm gonna get a patch. And that's kind of where I was at with this. I was like, screw it, nuts going in the hatch. I need nuts right now. Just know that there's a chance that sometimes that when you do those things, even after you heal, even after you're in remission, you can go back into getting a couple patches here and there when we're getting off track, when we're eating things that are irritating to our system. Another thing about the body stuff for alopecia areata is there's a whole bunch of scientific literature about the nervous system and regulating the nervous system and keeping our stress levels in order. This is a science called psychoneuroimmunology, and this is all about the study of how your nervous system interacts with your immune system. And people with autoimmune issues tend to be in an overly sympathetic nervous system state. This means too much fight or flight. This means a lot of stress. This is usually coming from a traumatic childhood, or it's very common for people with autoimmune issues to have traumatic childhoods that kind of trains our system to be in a constant state of fight or flight. And this puts our system in kind of a hot wired situation. Eventually, maybe sometime down the line, for me, I was about 28. Eventually, I just redlined and my system said, okay, this is it. And there you go. I got some overt symptoms of autoimmune issues. For you, maybe you didn't experience childhood trauma, but maybe you had some kind of really bad trauma sometime in life, maybe a divorce, maybe a bad car accident, maybe a terrible illness, some kind of physical trauma. Pregnancy can also trigger it, hormonal changes, just different things triggering your nervous system to be in a state of stress. As much as you can, develop a practice of meditation and yoga. This is one of the reasons I became a yoga instructor and why I got certified in yoga and why yoga is now the path that I live my life on, why I study the Bhagavad Gita every day, why I do meditation every day. I don't skip it. Yoga has been a path of healing for me, and I don't know where I'd be without yoga. Yoga is not just a physical practice, it's a set of mind states. It's a practice of how to train your mind to think throughout the day, how to breathe, how to move, how to stretch your muscles, how to be in a state of relaxed, just receptivity. So that's another aspect of healing autoimmune issues on the body level, is really not just managing your stress. I don't like that term manage stress because that adds a level of stress. It's like you imagine, you're at the circuit board, like, let's manage the stress. We actually don't need to manage our stress. We need to come home to our bodies. So we need to come home to our bodies and train our minds to be peaceful. We don't need to manage stress. We need to train our minds to be in a peaceful state. We need to train ourselves to be comfortable with joy, happiness, relaxation, peace, leisure, happiness, laughter. We need to start training ourselves to be in those states more and more. This doesn't mean we're going to get rid of stress. You're still going to have stress in your life. Stress is healthy. It just means that we're going to buffer that stress and help ourselves to be more resilient by filling our cups up with nice, good energy. The next part of healing is the spiritual aspect. The spiritual aspect is a little bit of what I just talked about, the meditative practices. But also beyond meditation is the awareness of who and what you are beyond your body, and allowing your soul to be at the helm of your life now. There's a part of ourselves that's disjointed, that's fractured. There's a part of our soul that's asking for some healing, and that part of our soul wants to be heard and it wants to be acted out. So a lot of the times alopecia can be a symptom of things that aren't actualized yet. Like maybe you're repressing parts of your personality, parts of your dreams. Maybe you're not doing the things you really love to be doing. Maybe you're with a partner that's really not in harmony with you. Maybe there's a certain aspect of your life that's not reflecting your soul. So see in your life, where can you start tapping into some more authenticity? Where in your life is something disharmonious that you can tap into to make it more authentic, to make it feel more in alignment with your heart, with your soul? This is not something our minds can do. This is a feeling tone thing. And this is actually very simple. We get into feeling. Does this feel open and expansive, or does this constrict and contract me? Does this job open me up, or does it contract me? Does the way that I'm thinking about this relationship open me up or contract me? Like, we do this all the time, as much as you possibly can. And this is a practice. The more we just reach for what can I do to be more authentic? What can I do to live for my soul? The healthier our bodies become. One of the most unhealthy things that we can do for our body is to shut down our dreams, to live in disharmonious situations, and to not be honest with ourselves about what we want and need in our lives. This is a unique aspect of alopecia, where it's obviously something you can't miss. It's on the top of your head. It's right at your eye line, you know? So there's a spiritual component to this, where it's kind of a big glaring stop sign. This isn't to say that's always going to be the case. Like, this makes it seem like I'm blaming. In a way, I don't ever want you thinking this is your fault, or that you're to blame for any of the patches on your head. That's not what I mean to say. What I mean to say is, this is kind of just like, again, information, that there's maybe a blind spot that you're not seeing, that this is an opportunity for you to start to see. And one of the beautiful gifts that alopecia can give us is, now we can see there's something inharmonious in our lives. And if you've got alopecia, there's a really good chance there is. And so the gift is now putting that as priority number one. Let's heal this, whatever that thing is. Let's be brave and let's heal it. Let's start healing it. Let's take little 2% baby steps every day to get to healing this aspect of our lives that's inharmonious. Well, that is very much spiritual. Like, everything I just talked about is spiritual. A lot of people think, when they think spiritual, they think prayer, and that's very important too. Definitely use prayer, use meditation, read the sacred scriptures, whatever your favorite sacred scripture is. If you're not into religion though, that's totally fine. We can be secularly spiritual. It doesn't really matter what you believe in. You don't have to believe in an idea. You don't have to believe in a set of rules from a certain religion. But the spiritual aspect of healing requires what I just said, is being there for yourself and acting in alignment with what your heart's telling you. That's not too woo-woo, right? I think most of us can be on the same page that our heart is telling us something. So we listen to that as much as possible. And then there is, knowing that there is some kind of higher power, whether you think it's nature or what. I personally am of the mindset there is a God that created me. And that God that created me, this is not religious. I'm not affiliated with any religion, but there is something that created me, a higher power, the divine, God. I like the word God. It just feels right for me. So God created me, and because he created me, there's a part of that God in me, in every cell of my body. So when I meditate in the morning, I can close my eyes and know that I am part of that divine creator. And then whatever's going on in my life, it just makes it so much easier. I can also give the whole issue to the divine. I can give the whole issue saying, thank you for handling this. Thank you so much for everything I'm learning from this. Mindset, your mind. Everything is mind. Beyond the emotions that we experience from moment to moment, we can train our minds to think in a certain way. We can notice the unsavory thoughts that we have. When I was at the peak of my alopecia areata, I was so engrossed in my thoughts, I didn't even realize how toxic my thinking was. It was just constant toxic thinking, constant negativity, constant stress, constant worry. So whatever is going on in your life situation, we can take it to a positive place. What's great about this situation? What am I learning from this? Where can I grow here? How am I going to grow? What can I do? Who can I become from this challenge, or whatever it is? We can start to train our mind to be asking these questions that get us into a state of grace and harmony and peace. instead of whatever the mind's natural state is to be very negative, worried, fearful, resentful, judgmental, ruminating on what ifs and what ifs and what ifs and what ifs. We can just be very, very diligent with training our minds to be laser focused on what truly matters. That's like the overview. That's the healing process overview. I wanted to also go into a little bit more about the diet aspect because this is important. This is the low-hanging fruit. This is where my healing process started. When I got my first big, huge softball-sized patch, this is where the healing process started because it started as a nickel and then it grew and grew and grew to the size of a softball, and that there was no slowing this thing down until I found the AIP diet. And I was a nutritionist for about 10 years before this happened. I've now been a nutritionist for about 20 years actually, so I don't know the exact time scale, but I'd been a nutritionist. That was my background. And then this happened, and then I learned about nutritional therapy and specialized in AIP, the autoimmune protocol. And I want to just hone in on this. When people start the AIP diet, they call it like the hardest diet they've ever been on. They call it like impossible and all this stuff. But that's why I made the course that I made. That's why I created the Healing with Food course, is because I know how intimidating this diet sounds. I know that it sounds impossible when you first hear about it. However, now when I get a patch, this patch is going to be gone in it'll probably be all the way filled in the next 2 months. And then I probably won't get another one until, knock on wood, there's no, that's not really wood, but knock on wood, there's not going to be another patch for a long time. I went, 5 years without a single patch. And then this one, I had another patch. When my last dog passed away, I did get a little patch. So with the patches I do get, they're real tiny and they grow back in very quickly. And they always coincide with some mega trifecta of a food trigger that I know is going to trigger me, but I just kind of don't care because I can do that most of the time. I can eat a little something here and there and it's no big deal. But if I do that and I'm in grief and I'm in stress, I get a little patch. So, but all that's to say is this way of eating really does work, and it really keeps the patches pretty much non-existent. When you do get a patch, they fill right in, and the healing process is so much faster. And that's brendaturner.com/heal, and you can use the promo code INSIDER for 50% off. The timeline for me was following AIP for the first 2 weeks, I started feeling a lot better. I didn't realize I had depression. I didn't realize that my depression was tied in with my autoimmune issues, but I had depression for all of my 20s. When I started doing my AIP protocol, my depression lifted in 2 weeks. I haven't had clinical depression since then. And that was, like I said, 8 years ago. Same thing with my anxiety, gone. Chronic fatigue, I had chronic fatigue, gone. And then my patch stopped growing, which was phenomenal because it was just, the hair was all over the floor. It was everywhere. My bathroom was covered in hair. I was crying my eyes out because it was just like all over my shoulders. It was just hair everywhere and it wasn't stopping. And then about 3 weeks in, it completely stopped falling out. I was washing my hair and I wasn't having a freaking huge, massive glob of hair coming out. And then it started filling in, and it started filling in a spiral pattern. It was really interesting. And then it came in like white, and then it filled all the way in, and then it grew, and it was normal again. And that part of my hair is still thicker and better than the rest of, it's just, it comes back, like who knows what's gonna happen. It's also curlier on that spot. And that big one took probably about the very first time I did autoimmune protocol. When I started doing this, it takes a little bit longer to heal because your system is just, it's like so fresh now. The patches heal up so much faster for me now because I've been doing this so long. My digestive system is in such a healthier state now that when I eat a trigger food, oopsie, I get a little tiny patch, maybe the size of a quarter, maybe the size of a nickel, and then it just heals right up. But for you, what to expect, it might take anywhere from 3 months to maybe 8 months to really get everything all the way filled in, to get some new growth coming in. The good thing is, when we start reintroducing the foods that are potential triggers, we can see not just by patches, we don't have to wait until patches come up. We can see right away, there's a 2-day kind of waiting period. You start eating foods again, and then you see what triggers your your system. You notice for little tiny symptoms, and that's enough to say, okay, that one's out. So there's a lot of foods you're eating right now, guaranteed, that are triggering your immune system. And getting rid of all those triggers, that's your healing process, my friend. And I laid all that out for you in Healing with Food. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to talk about really quick is just letting it go. So this is a really important part of the healing process. We have to let this go and let it go in a real way. What I mean by that is don't overthink about it. You do your best, do everything I just told you about the healing process, get your diet, your spiritual practices, and your mindset in order, and then let the healing process take place. It'll heal in the way that it's meant to heal, and it'll heal in the right time, it'll heal in the right order. Everything's in divine order, and there's a purpose and a reason for this to happen to you. I know nobody wants to hear that, but it's true. There's a gift in it all. I would not trade this for anything. I mean that when I say it. This first patch put me on a path that completely transformed who I am. It's a gift. If you see it like that, it's really hard to see it like that when you got an annoying ass patch on your head, but it's true that everything's happening for us. So we can let go of trying to do it all ourselves. Do everything I told you and then let it go. The rest is up to God, the universe, the divine. And we can also take a stance of thank you that I am already healed. Thank you that I'm already healed. I don't care what the patches look like on my head. My thank you every morning. I start my morning with thank you that I am healthy. That's one of the things I'm thankful for. Thank you for my healthy body. Because my body is healthy. If I got a little patch, okay, all good. All good in the hood. My body's healthy. Thank you for my healthy body. And I let it go from that point. I give it to God. I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for being with me and for taking care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.